Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome on stage the Director of Risk Management Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria, where he coordinates the B evaluating and mitigating risk, including information security and cyber threats, and various activities it undertakes in the pursuit of its mandate. He's a skilled and experienced risk manager, highly sought after speaker, and comes his role with over 25 years of experience working with and in and around the financial sector. Holds a PharmD, that's a Doctor of Pharmacy degree from the University of Benin, and an MBA from the prestigious Cranfield Business School in the United Kingdom. He's a fellow of the Association of Enterprise Risk Management Professionals, an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, CIMA, a certified ITIL and Prince 2 practitioner, and Information Security ISO 27001. He's the lead implementer and auditor, cybersecurity strategy, and thoroughbred risk manager. It is our pleasure and delight to have him with us at the Tech Fair. Please do make welcome Dr. Blaise Ijebor, the Director of Risk Management, Central Bank of Nigeria. Show some love. Let's show some techie love.
Okay. Good morning. Is it good afternoon? Good afternoon, all. How are you? Wow, there's a number of people in this hall. I'm so excited to be in your midst. You know, the only problem I have with organizers today, they've done a wonderful job, is that they put me after the most good-looking presenter and another presenter that has a golden jacket. So what am I going to do? I guess my presentation is going to be boring, following up with those two wonderful presentations. So pardon me if you start to sleep, just don't snore. Because if you do snore, I will do to you what I did to somebody last week. Don't ask me what, I'll tell you later. So I've got some slides, I'll talk through the slides. They've introduced me as the Director of Risk of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Let me make a caveat here, and this is very important. All right? I am not permitted to make policy statements on behalf of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And because I like my job, I will not be making any policy statement today. So whatever I say is just my opinion. I'm not going to change any of CBN policy, no matter how hard anybody tries to bribe me with lunch. Okay, so I would, because I have only 15 minutes, I would skip some slides. But you see, the Nigerian tech space is very interesting. The number 2 is like a magic number. All right? We are the second largest or second most attractive country in Africa, straight after South Africa, in terms of the flow of investment in tech space. All right? Over the last several years, we have attracted $2 trillion. Let me repeat that. $2 trillion in investment in the tech space. All right? We have about 200 million people. Our GDP is about $440 billion, which the current government is planning to double to about $1 trillion, which is a good thing. And we are projected to leave number 2 and to become the 3rd most populated country in the world by the year 2050. Now, the tech space in Nigeria is very exciting. Very exciting because we have such a huge population of young people, huge population of educated people, and then we have mobile phone density of about 80%. All right? So there is a huge market for technology companies to operate. Secondly, a lot of our industries are just coming out of the initial phase of industrialization, and we are ripe for disruption. I'll be talking a bit more about disruption as we go on. So the opportunities have driven this flight in technology, the flight in our tech space. COVID was also a master catalyst. All right? During COVID, a lot of us couldn't go out, so all we could do was rely on technology for us to get to do things. And that helped push technological adoption. In the payment space, that has been very, very impactful. We have seen so much digital payment opportunities that have sprung up in the last few years, and many more are coming. I'm preaching to the choir, so you guys are part of the space. But let me show my age here, so that some of you know how old I am. I was alive when we used to have up-country clearing. All right? I think at this point I need to just pause. I recognize our MD, our GMD, and all this, the Deputy Group Managing Director of Zenith Bank, and all the executives of Zenith Bank. Because I know most of you are in my age group, so you will still remember when we had the up-country clearing. So in those days, when you had up-country clearing, you bring your check to the bank, you pay it in on Monday, and you will not get value till the next Monday. I'm sure you young people will be thinking, what does that mean? I came to collect my money, you tell I should come back next week. Now, if you delay 10 minutes in getting payment, somebody will say, what is wrong with you? You must be lying. You didn't want to send me the money. All right? After that, we started making changes, and we had wholesale payments through, we had developments all through. I'll skip this slide, but I just wanted to make that point, that we have come a long way from where we started. And I like the way Bill Gates put it. He says the advance of technology is based on the concept that you do not want to know technology is there. So it's integrated so much into your life, it's no longer something that is different from you, it's just part of your life. And that's the beauty of technology. And that's also driving a lot of the advancements we are seeing. And we are seeing those advancements coming in terms of mobile banking, digital banking, retail and SME lending, remittances, emerging and other emerging technologies. People have talked today about AIs. In fact, I can't keep up with the technologies, all the terminologies anymore. You have AI, generative AI, Internet of Things, Internet 4.0, and so on. But don't forget, we also have some homegrown, interesting technology like the e-Naira. Fantastic idea. The whole idea of this is to create an alternative to cryptos for our people to develop digital payments and digital products. But you see, and I missed a couple of slides here, the problem with eruptions is that every eruption comes with risk. When you have a volcanic eruption, there's a risk you either be burnt, or your infrastructure is destroyed, or your homes are destroyed, either by the lava, or by the fire, or by the ash, or by the smoke. All right? So every type of eruption, like the fintech eruption that we have seen in Nigeria or across Africa, comes with risk. And some of the key risks we've been seeing in recent times, fraud, cyber fraud has been growing rapidly, and that's a challenge. All right? We've seen also issues with, and somebody spoke about it earlier, the challenges that are coming with the fact that now we have networked organization. So you are providing service not just by yourself, but by a group of companies or a group of platforms that work together. And any one of them that fails creates a failure for that whole network. And for us as regulator, that is worrisome. That's worrisome. Why? Because we have to protect the whole system. The whole system has to be safe. Not just because of the customers, which I will come to in a bit, not just because of government, which I will come to in a bit, but because of you who are players in that industry. Right? We are very excited about the amount of money that is coming into this industry, and we want it to continue to come. But investors will not invest in an industry that is not safe. They will not invest in an industry that is not properly regulated. that the risks are not properly dimensioned and properly mitigated. So for us to continue to see the growth in this industry, we need good regulation. Let me pause at that point and make a distinction between what we call standardization and regulation. Standardization is setting the baseline, and usually is voluntary. All right? That allows everybody to operate in that ecosystem so that they can work together. Regulation is saying what you must do, that is codified in law. All right? And a standard can become a regulation when the regulator adopts that standard. All right? But what's the point of regulation? Because a lot of you are worried, and rightly so, that you disruptors are likely to become disrupted by us old regulators. Isn't it true? That we are going to overwhelm you with regulations that is of no good to you, that will stifle technology, that will stifle innovation. But the truth is far from that. And I like this quote by this man called Alfred Kahn. He says, regulation is a great device for protecting the consumer against the market, the worker against the employer, the small business against the big business, and the environment against the polluter. But regulation is also, and I think this is the one you must note, it's also a great device for protecting the regulated, that is you, against us, the regulators. Because if there is no regulation, then I'm at will to decide who I like and who I support and who I don't support. All right? If there is no regulation, then you don't know what you are entering into when you enter into the industry. But when there is clear regulation, it becomes easy for you to know, how do I stay on the right side of the law? How do I do things right? But there's a very interesting development, and I will speak about it in a bit. Before I get into this, let me just talk about it here. The interesting thing is that technology and innovation is going very rapidly. And us as regulators need to keep up with those innovations. We need to keep up with technology. And the only way you can regulate something is if you understand it. If you try to regulate something you don't understand, you are very likely to destroy it. All right? And one of my pastors used to say, he says, if you don't understand how to use an equipment, abuse is inevitable. If we don't understand the technology we are going to regulate, it's very likely we will put regulations that will stifle the technology. So what we have done is something we call a regulatory sandbox. And all of you who are here, who are interested, please reach out to our website. You will see more information on this. But the regulatory sandbox is a device that helps us bring you into the ecosystem to say, come, set up your platform here, deliver your product within this safe environment, and we'll watch you for 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, whatever it takes for us to understand the product you are putting on in the market, and for us to decide what type of risk and what type of regulation is appropriate for that technology. So that we don't use regulation that is not adequate or appropriate for your business to regulate you. So that sandbox is a great environment for us to learn what you are doing, what you intend to put out in the market, and for you to also learn and get clarity about what the regulations that are applied to you. Having said that, let me go back to my slide and say that the regulatory framework in Nigeria for fintech doesn't only involve the Central Bank of Nigeria. There are several other regulators, and a number of them are listed here. There's SEC, there's NIDA, there's NCC, and I'm sure all of you know about the Startup Act. There's the, and so on, other legislations that affect your sphere. But with regards to the Central Bank of Nigeria, we focus on payments, we focus on banking, and therefore a lot of you who are in fintech come under our purview. All right? And we make quite a number of regulations. In recent times, we've made regulations around the framework, the sandbox that I just talked about, guidelines for licensing and regulation of payment service banks, regulatory guidelines on e-Naira, Payment Systems Vision 2025, regulatory framework for open banking. That's been generating a lot of interest. And the other one was the one on contactless payment, generated a lot of interest. Guidelines for shared services and regulatory framework for mobile money services in Nigeria. So we've done a lot in this area, and there are other regulators that do things in that area. So what are the challenges with regulation? I think I've mentioned a couple of them already. The big one is cyber threats. Cyber threats and cyber threats. Because a lot of what you are doing it, they're internet enabled. Just as quickly as you learn how to put this product out in the market, people are learning how to defraud you and defraud the system. All right? So that's a big challenge. And these people are not just men, boys anymore in their mom's bedroom or whatever. They are even nation states, big corporates, criminal organizations that are looking to get money anywhere they can find it. So cyber threat is a big issue. Interoperability is another big issue. How do we make sure that every technology that is coming into the ecosystem can talk to each other? Because if they don't, you're going to create problems that we can't solve. Because you're going to create silos in the financial system that struggle to work with each other. And as regulators, we really don't want that. We want a system that can work together and earn value together and deliver value together. The development of clear standards for emerging technologies. How do we regulate emerging technologies? Ability of regulators to adapt quickly to new development. So these are some of the challenges. I mean, you can imagine when I went to school, I don't want to tell you my age now more. When I went to school, our computer science department was almost as big as this room. But the computing power of that computer science department is not up to 1/10 of my phone today. We all used to go and punch cards. Any of you remember that? We punch cards and then take it to the computer center, and then they will run the... Don't tell them my age. So, out of that, there are some opportunities, all right? Some great opportunities. One of them is the promotion of trust and confidence in the digital payment system. Somebody said, we are not a technology company, or we are not in a technology business, we are in the trust business. All right? We are in the trust business. If I don't trust the people who gave me my phone, I will not use that phone. And I like to always tell this story. I have a professor friend who never uses his ATM card. Why? Because when ATMs first came out, he used it and he got wiped out. So you can't convince him to ever touch his card anymore. All right? So technology is about trust. And regulators will help you if we work together to build and establish that trust now and going forward. The other thing is attract investment. I mentioned in the past in the beginning. Look, the investors who are coming to invest in technology startups today are going to be happy to continue to do that. And the more mature funds that are going to come in to take over from them will only come in if they believe that there is a safe regulatory environment for them to make money. So it's so important that we as regulators working with you, and I'll talk about that in a minute, create that environment so that we continue to attract investments. The next thing is foster the growth of innovative solutions. We talked about that. We don't want to stifle it because it's creating jobs for our people, and we are so excited that it's also creating young, well-to-do people who will also create jobs in the future. Create a level playing field for all participants. This perhaps will be the sweetest thing that I would say to the group managing director, because one of the challenges that banks have always cried out is that we are allowing these fintechs have a field day, and we are preventing them from doing the same. Or we are giving them so much in terms of regulation that the fintechs don't have to stand by or apply to, or doesn't apply to them. All right? But if we work together, we can all have reasonable regulation that fits everybody depending on the business that you do. If you are just a payment platform, we should provide regulation that fits your business ideology. If you are doing anything in banking, we should give you the same regulation that fits your business model. Finally, what I would say are suggestions for next steps. Collaboration and coordination. We all need to work together. Regulators, regulated, we need to work together because the benefit of a good regulatory and standards landscape is not only for us, it's for you, and most importantly, it's for the good of our country. Also, cybersecurity and data privacy is a big one. Cybersecurity continues to be a threat to you, but even today, data privacy is becoming even a bigger issue. I don't have time to go into that. Interoperability I've talked about. Education and awareness is where I will stop. Education and awareness of what you are doing and what you are delivering, and the safety of what you are doing and what you are delivering is what will grow the pie or the cake that we are baking in this country, and will do good for you, for us, and for the whole country, and in particular for the common man. Thank you.